Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome to 90 Day Fiancé latest news. Watchers of reality television have seen families develop, couples struggle, and love stories emerge. However, Annie Sewin, star of 90 Day Fiancé, recently experienced a horrific event that put everything she and her husband, David Toborowski, had been looking forward to in jeopardy. What should have been a typical evening only weeks before the birth of their first child became a nightmare that no expectant mother ever wants to experience. However, Annie's fortitude, David's steadfast love, and the encouragement of people around them would transform this terrifying moment into a tale of resiliency and hope despite the agony, anxiety, and uncertainty. The evening in the Toborowski home was quiet. In order to get ready for the baby's arrival, Annie had spent the day folding small clothing, setting up baby supplies, and making sure everything was exactly right. Despite the difficulties, she had had a wonderful pregnancy. She was reminded of the priceless life developing inside of her with each kick and flutter. Her tiny miracle would soon arrive in her arms, as she had often dreamed of this moment. She made the decision to unwind by taking a warm shower as the sun began to drop. The pain of carrying a new life was lessened by the soft stream of water that trickled down her spine. With her palms resting on her belly, she hummed quietly to herself while smiling and talking to the baby. "My dear, it won't be long. You'll be here soon with your parents." However, that tranquil moment quickly descended into catastrophe. Her foot slipped on the damp flooring as she reached for the soap. Her body stumbled forward, and gravity seized over before she could stop herself. Her hands automatically flew to protect her tummy as she fell, her side striking the hard floor as she let out a piercing yell. She struggled to move and moaned as a dull, throbbing agony swept through her body. Her heart seized with fear. A loud thud reverberated throughout the home while David was in the bedroom, happily reading about infant care in a parenting book. His heart fell. The restroom was the source of the sound. He threw the door open and leaped to his feet without hesitation. He felt a chill run down his spine when he saw Annie on the ground with her arms wrapped about her tummy and her face twisted in agony. "Annie!" Panic starting to set in, he hurried to her side. Her breathing was erratic as she gazed up at him, her eyes brimming with tears. "David, I went down." His mind racing with panic, his hands shaking as he caressed her shoulders gently. "Are you in pain? Are you hurting, baby?" Annie shifted slightly and swallowed hard, wincing. "I'm not sure. There's something off about it." David didn't wait any longer. He picked up his phone and called 911, explaining what had happened in a voice that was hardly steady. The next few moments seemed to go on forever. With his heart racing, he spoke to Annie while holding her hand. He was scared on the inside, but he attempted to remain strong. Never before had he felt so helpless. He felt a mixture of comfort and fear as he heard the sirens wailing in the distance. As they hurriedly evaluated Annie's condition, paramedics stormed inside the house with solemn emotions. After interviewing her and assessing her vitals, they cautiously raised her onto a stretcher. As they wheeled her out of the house and into the ambulance, David remained by her side, his hand never leaving hers. He could see the concern in her eyes as he climbed in next to her. "Annie, stay with me. We'll be all right." It was an anxious ride to the hospital. The paramedics kept a tight eye on Annie, looking for any indications of distress. David observed as they listened for the baby's heartbeat using a Doppler device. For a time there was silence in the room, and then, there it was. There was a constant rhythmic sound. A beating heart. They still had their baby. Although David felt a rush of relief, he was aware that they were still in danger. Annie was hurried into an examination room as soon as she arrived at the hospital. The doctors worked quickly, watching the infant, doing tests, and looking for any indications of problems. With his hands joined together in silent prayer, David stood outside and paced the corridor. In his imagination, he again relived the fall, Annie's suffering, and her terror. He had never felt so powerless. Minutes went by in what seemed like an age before the doctor finally came out. With his breath trapped in his throat, David hurried forward. "Please, doctor, tell me she's all right." The doctor nodded reassuringly. She was a middle-aged woman with gentle eyes. "Annie is steady. There are no serious injuries, however she did sustain some bruises from the fall. And above all, the infant is safe. There are no indications of distress, and the heartbeat is robust. There isn't any imminent risk, but she will require rest and observation." With a hesitant, relieved breath, David let out a breath. His legs were almost giving out under him. In that instant, the anxiety and the fear vanished. Without wasting any more time, he hurried inside Annie's room. Her face was peaceful but exhausted as she lay in bed. A faint smile pulled at her lips as she spotted him. He sat next to her and softly pressed her hand on his forehead. "You scared me so much, my love." Annie gave his fingers a little squeeze. "I was also afraid. However, we're all right. Our child is doing well." David's eyes filled with tears, and he laughed quietly as the feelings he was experiencing overcame him. Never in his life has he felt more thankful for anything. Annie stayed in the hospital for observation during the course of the following few days. Fans from all over the world flooded in with supportive and loving messages. They were reminded of how many people cared for them by the outpouring of prayers, good wishes, and support on social media. Annie was extremely thankful as she recovered, not only for her health but also for the love she had in her life. A few days later, she taped an emotional message for her fans while sitting upright in her hospital bed with David at her side. "I appreciate all of your prayers and kindness. Although it was a terrible moment, I am confident that I have the world's greatest husband and supporters. I will have more strength than ever, and our baby is safe. This child is a fighter already." David smiled proudly next to her and gave her a soft peck on the crown of her head. There was still a lot of excitement for the journey ahead, but they knew that this event had only strengthened them. They would soon begin the next phase of their adventure together with their baby in their arms. Annie and David had once again demonstrated through their love, fear, and doubt that their narrative was about more than simply romance. It was also about resiliency, faith, and their unshakable tie. One thing was evident as they turned to face the future. Nothing could shatter them. Their dreams, family, and love were all stronger than before. This gossip is over. If you liked the video, then give your opinion in the comment box and stay with us by subscribing the channel. Thank you.